How's it, punters? Welcome back to the BSB podcast. Been gone a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, we couldn't get one out last week because YouTube decided to slap me with a strike, so I couldn't upload anything. But we're back. Unfortunately, we missed out on some great games, and we would have tipped some amazing winners, I think, Simon. But how was your weekend? Did you have any bets?
Yeah, I actually didn't have any bets this weekend, but it was definitely a weekend for the bookies because there were a lot of favorites that came in. But you did pretty well, didn't you, Rob?
Yeah, I did very, very well. I had a really nice boost that I took at Lulibet. It was all the London teams to score. Basically, three. I think it was Fulham and Leeds. It was Arsenal, Liverpool, and I think it was a Crystal Palace game. Both teams to score. I got like 5 points something on that one, and then I had City to win. I had Chelsea to win. I had Newcastle the double chance, and then I had Arsenal double chance, United double chance. Everything just it was quite a
Nice.
a clean sweep. One of the rare times that I get heavily involved, and it actually returned quite nicely. So I was pretty happy with how that went. Lots of action to talk about. I
Yeah,
think let's jump straight into some of the EPL. We'll only focus on the last weekend, but another
yeah.
another cracking set of fixtures. Let's start off with I think the big one, which was Liverpool getting smashed. Well, not smashed, but looking very much like I don't want to say a second tier side, but nowhere near the level that Arsenal are at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good headlining match. I think probably the lion's share of fans would have been looking forward to that fixture, more than any of the others, and it delivered on expectations for sure. It was nice. It was one of those games. Obviously, it was full of goals or 5 goals. It was one of those games where the teams sort of traded goals. So you kind of it was like one goal for Liverpool, one for Arsenal, one for Liverpool, one for Arsenal, and so on, and kind of ended with Saka
Hmm.
slotting a match-winning penalty for the Gunners, which kind of proved the difference in the end. But there were some really great goals in that match. I actually think my favorite was Martinelli's goal, which
Oh
was the
yeah,
first one of the match. Just absolute sort of
58 seconds or something, eh?
yeah, and just eye of the needle, just threading those balls into the box, just really, really fantastic, really accurate passing, which is really cool. There were quite a few goals where it was just involved some really, really brilliant passing in that match. It was a good one, and that with that win, Arsenal goes top of the table, those 3 points, with City just 1 point behind them, breathing down their neck,
Yeah,
and
Liverpool in big
Liverpool.
trouble, eh?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're just barely now sitting in the top half of the table with Brentford, only above Brentford on goal difference in 10th spot. So, yeah, quite a what a difference the season can make.
Still early days though, I want to say, but I think
Yeah.
the top ones are starting to shape up. I think it's going to be, we're going to have City, then Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, United, Liverpool. I think that's definitely going to be the top
Mm.
six. I don't see anyone else really breaking into that.
And I think another one to talk about, Rob, is Newcastle
Mm.
breaking their voodoo
Oh,
of heavy home favorites because whenever they are favored, especially against a kind of minnow side at home, I always just worry that they're going to drop points. But this time they absolutely smashed Brentford 5-1 with Bruno Guimaraes
Gimerick,
getting
yeah.
getting a brace there. Yeah,
Yeah, no, a cracking result for the team. I was super stoked. I think it's only our second win of the season or something like that. It's lots of good displays and performances, but just not getting the wins. But those are
mm,
starting to come through, and the attack is looking pretty potent. Even though Isak's out,
yeah,
Wilson's back, but
yes,
definitely a side to watch. They're taking on, I think it's United this weekend. We'll
yeah,
be
yeah.
chatting
Looking
about
forward
in a
to that.
bit. Then Chelsea looking good again, picking up a good 3-0 win over Spurs. Bournemouth beating Leicester, that was a bit of a surprise. I didn't see that one coming. Leicester just looking so bad at the moment. And then Spurs picking up a very good away win thanks to Harry Kane against Brighton. And then we had City just doing the business against Southampton with Haaland. That man is just absolutely insane. I don't know if anyone's been following us on Twitter, but we were discussing what odds we can get on him not to score a goal. And I think it went up to like 4.0, 5.0 around there. With he's basically
Yeah,
1.2 for an
that's
anytime goal
ridiculous.
scorer, and it can't go any lower than that. I don't think they can make that any shorter. To be honest,
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy when you think about the implied probability of that is like 75% to score. And I thought, well, in the beginning, well, if you just take a bet on him not to score every weekend, you'll probably end up with profit at the end of the
Yes,
season. But
yes.
the more that happens, the more that he just keeps on scoring, the more that I think it might not be the most
I
the
still
best
think
bet to
it's a
make.
good bet long term just
Yeah,
because of the odds you're getting, and you can basically bet 3 or 4 games in a row for him not to score. And obviously, it happens once; those odds are then gone.
yeah,
But if you do that for 3 or 4 weeks and he scores in 3 out of those 4 weeks, and
yeah.
he
You're in
doesn't in
profit.
one, you're still in profit. Literally
Yeah,
takes like 5 games or something for you to, if he scores in the next 5 games, then you will be out of profit. But
yeah.
I wish someone would price it up, because I would get involved that every week, and it's not because I want to disrespect the man. He's absolutely amazing. I just think there's
Mm.
value there, because a player cannot score in every single game. It's just not going to
Oh, and
happen.
it's a simple case of the bookmakers, having to shift their liability. So because there's so many punters betting on him to score, there immediately is a situation gets created in the market where there's automatically value then on him not to score. So yeah, I think blindly backing that would definitely be profitable at the end of the season. But yeah, we haven't seen the bookmaker price it up yet.
And they're just looking so dangerous City right now. And I know Arsenal top of the league, and respect to them. They did. Arteta has completely changed my mind on. Like, I've changed my mind on him. He's doing it. I now think he's doing a fantastic job. I was a bit sus on him like last season, but no, Arsenal really have turned a corner. And I always like to jump on the Arsenal train, as I've discussed in the podcast. I think that train's on full steam at the moment. It's
Yeah.
probably towards the tail end of it, so I'd be a little bit wary jumping in too hard. But example against Liverpool, I mean, Liverpool are just not looking good this season. Salah, I don't know. Yeah, Salah. No, I think we spoke about the Salah and Mane.
Mm.
With Mane missing, it's just another player. The guy's sitting on the sideline, hugging the linesman, just not getting involved. When he does get involved, he misses. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Look, they're going to come right at some point. I just didn't expect them to be so bad, especially after that 9-0 drubbing of Bournemouth, whoever it was, a couple of weeks back. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, they do look a bit lost, but I agree with you. I think they'll come right. Hopefully by then City hasn't run too far away with it. I think Arsenal obviously are contenders this season. I'm not sure if they are gonna put a stop to City, but we'll see.
yeah, I think they are contenders. I just think City, with some of their results, have been a little bit unlucky. Although Arsenal, to be fair, were also a little bit unlucky against United. But I
Mm.
think City just have the squad, they have the legs, they have the experience for it. So I'd love to see Arsenal pick up the Premier League. I just don't see it happening, and I think the odds still reflect that. I think they're like 5 or 6 to 1,
Yeah.
where City
To
are
be
still
honest,
heavy
I
favourites.
think I think those odds are pretty short. Actually,
Yeah,
I would want Arsenal at about 10 to
yeah,
win if I was there
yeah,
back then.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And then let's jump straight into the upcoming fixtures, and then we'll jump onto recaps of some of the other sports that took place over the weekend. We've got Champions League tonight, which we'll chat about after this. Let's first go to the Premier League, and I think the one that stands out to me this weekend is there's 2 games. We've got United versus Newcastle, and
Mm.
we have Liverpool versus Manchester City.
Yeah.
And let's start off with the United game. There's United's United playing at home, 2 points, basically even money. I think that's a little bit short, to be honest.
I agree.
But
I
I,
agree.
I I don't see anything other than United getting a result here.
Yeah, I think, look, it's obviously easy to fall into the trap of kind of being biased towards your own team, being a Newcastle supporter. But I think I do have a healthy skepticism around the team. And I must say, when I looked at this immediately, I thought this United look a bit short. I would have United at about 2.15 if I was setting the odds.
Yeah,
So I do actually see a little bit of value in the traveling side here, being Newcastle.
I just can't. I
Um,
can't back them though. Um,
I think I
they've
think
picked up 2 wins. They're a solid squad. I think there's going to be goals in this one. I've
yeah,
watched United play now a couple of matches. I watched their match over the weekend. They look very dangerous on attack. It's the
they do,
defense
and
that's a bit iffy.
they actually have the tied best away form in the league as well. So City and United have the best. They have the tied best away form in the league. I know it's only been a few matches. Obviously, every team's only played 2 or 3 away matches, but still. So that's probably just pushing their price down up a little bit. But yeah, I'm not quite drinking the United Kool-Aid yet. Like
No, no.
I think that they are an improving side, and I think we're gonna see a lot more from them. But
Yeah.
I do think there's a bit of value in taking Newcastle on the double chance
Yeah.
there, at about 1.8. You could even take a little bit more risk there and maybe take a plus a half, or three quarters at least. Sorry. But I do think United look a bit short there. So I'd rather get with Newcastle on the side. But I agree with you. I think over 2.5 is also a decent shot in this one.
Not a lot of value in the markets I like. I think both
Mm,
teams to score is a good bet here, but 1.63 is just a little bit too short.
yeah,
And my worry there is that Newcastle will blank rather than United. And
yeah.
over 2.5 is 1.7, also not necessarily the best price. I don't want to get
Mm,
involved there. 1.8 I might get involved, but that's just a little bit too short. Um, yeah, I can't take United just because United are so short. I can't take them on the double chance or on the draw no bet, and I'm hesitant to take take. Actually, the draw no bet 1.48 in an accumulator I think might be a decent punt. Newcastle are 2.6, which is very good value if you want to follow form. But I think these two teams are so evenly matched at the moment. I think the home ground advantage is going to decide it. To be honest, my guess is going to be like 2-1 to United.
yeah. Yeah, I know. As I said, I'll favour Newcastle at those odds, but nothing that I'm like getting too excited about.
Then let's go to the other big one, which is Liverpool versus Manchester City. And I'm surprised to see that Manchester City are 1.87 for this game. I thought it would be a bit shorter than that. I think the bookmakers are giving Liverpool quite a lot of, although not giving them a lot of respect, but I mean at 3.8 it's pretty high on Liverpool. But yeah, 1.87 is not a bad price on City, but I see this one being a draw, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bet that I like for this one quite a bit, and it's a market that I don't often go to, and that's City to win and both teams to score. And that's available not at big odds, but at 2.9. But I think that's actually it's a cracking bet for this one. We were talking about earlier off the podcast. Most of the big sides aren't keeping clean sheets
Yeah.
this season. So, if you expect City to win, which they should, obviously it's an away fixture against a very good side. But if you're expecting City to win, I think both teams to score is combining that with both teams to
Yeah.
score is
Yeah.
is a nice bet. You can even another one which I like, which is even riskier. But I find that when I like it, when I like a both teams to score bet, it often comes in really early. Like often it'll come in the first half, and you can get both teams to
Oh.
score in the first half in this match at 3.45, which is obviously a
Ooh.
bit of
Okay.
risk.
No, I like that
But
one.
I mean, if I could look, if you think that City are, I mean, they haven't always been getting off to the fastest starts, to be absolutely fair. But if you think there are going to be goals in this one, why can't both teams score in the first half here? And I think 3.45 is a big price.
I really fancy that one. I think that's
Mm.
a cracker bet, to be honest.
Yeah, and then
It's good, great value.
you're not making any assumptions then about the winner of the match.
Yes.
Because so if it is 1-1 in the first half, City could still win it like 4-1. Or something like that. But yeah, I like that, and that's obviously is a riskier bet because both teams to score is very very short in this match. But in the first half, it's 3.45. But I do also like City to win and both teams to score at 2.9. So yeah, so I think there's a bit of value in those sort of combined markets in this match.
Yeah, two very attacking sides taking each other on. I think the difference here will be Haaland and the
Mm,
the struggling Liverpool defense.
yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold has no right being a defender. I don't know if you've been
Yes.
watching his last couple games. Feel sorry for him shoehorned into that wing back position, but yeah, he just shouldn't be playing them. He cannot defend. And we're also talking about this off podcast about how the season's very much an attacking season. There
Mm,
haven't been too many clean sheets. A lot of the big sides, as we mentioned earlier, have been conceding goals, and that's just because they're happy to go forward. So
yeah.
it's not like City are winning like 2-1. They're winning like 3-1, 5-1. Those 6-3, those kind of score lines, and it's because they I don't want to say they're happy to concede, but they're happy to press forward and they'll concede the odd one on the counter attack because that's how teams are going to play against them. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be quite an interesting match. I think this is the one. It's a big one for Liverpool. If they lose to City here, then I mean, what next? Like
Yeah,
they're,
yeah,
they're they're really in deep trouble. But if they pick up a win this season, I don't want to say it's back on track, but it's a huge boost. It would be a huge boost
yeah.
to them.
Well, look, obviously last season this was the match that I mean, it happened. Gosh, because it happened a couple of times. It was also in the
Yeah.
Community Shield and so on. So they played each other, I think, 4 or 5 times last season, and it was always a great fixture. So even if Liverpool aren't quite the team that they were last season, you can expect that they'll give their all here, and I think we'll see a good showing.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a big one. It's going to be a nice day, like a day of football. And
Yeah.
yeah, let's have a look at some of the other ones. We've got Brentford taking on Brighton. Brighton looking really solid, so I'm surprised to see them at 2.39.
Yeah, I mean that's a top half of the table clash. You wouldn't think going into the season that you would be looking at a match like that and saying these are two top 10 sides coming up against each other.
And then we've got Leicester taking on Crystal Palace. Not too much to say about that one. Fulham taking on Bournemouth. Wolves taking on Nottingham. Or Forest rather, and Spurs taking on Everton. I think Spurs are 1.51's not terrible value there to beat Everton. Everton do have a really good defensive record, but just having watched the United game last night or the other night, the United could have scored a couple. They really should have scored a few more. They actually did score a few more. I don't know if you saw that handball that was ruled out.
No, I didn't actually.
It was absolutely ridiculous. Basically, the ball came into him. It bounced off his leg and like brushed where his chest meets his arm, completely accidentally. He didn't put anything out there. He scored the goal, and then they
Yeah.
ruled it. It was daylight robbery, if you ask me. So I'll be backing Spurs there. Then Chelsea versus Aston Villa. Chelsea, I think, are big sleepers at the moment. I think a lot of people are underestimating them. I think they've come right now. Well, they're very much on the track to coming right. I can't not back them against Aston Villa. I think that 1.86 is a great price. I see them winning this one like 2-0. This is one of the few sides that are still very solid defensively is Chelsea, in my opinion.
Sure.
Then there's also the Arsenal game. Arsenal taking on Leeds. There's going to be goals for days in that one. I think. Let me have a quick look at the overs here. It's probably something very, very short. Let's have a look. Over 2.5 goals, 1.6. Yeah, I'm not going to get involved there. I fancy Arsenal to pick up a win there. I'm not going to be including it. Just a little bit too short at 1.58. And that pretty much wraps up most of the matches other than the Southampton versus West Ham. West Ham actually looking much better now. I don't know if you've caught any of their results or their fixtures.
Yes, no, they are vastly improved. I agree with you.
Yeah, looking much better. Then, Simon, we've got Champions League taking place tonight. I think this is one of the few seasons where I've really, really not watched much Champions League.
Yeah, well, speaking of Chelsea, I think that looks like tonight at least. That looks like the best match on paper. They're traveling to Italy to face AC Milan, and I think that should be quite a
They
closely
beat them last
contested
week,
one.
didn't they? It was
Yeah,
2-0, I think.
yeah. So I think that should be a good one. I must say that the one match I'm quite looking forward to as well is Benfica and PSG, and I think Benfica will make life quite difficult for Paris Saint-Germain. And there's a bet that I like there. And I like Benfica plus 1.5 on the Asian handicap, which you can get at 1.74. So for those unfamiliar with this market, it means that unless PSG wins by 2 clear goals, then the bet is a win. So I think there's a bit of value there. I must say I like that, getting with the Portuguese there against PSG.
Yeah, I haven't kept up to date with too much of the European ongoing, so I'm not going to be giving any tips at all for the Champions League. I hope you guys enjoy it, but I'm not going to be having any bets. I'd rather wait till the knockout rounds or something like that when it starts getting a bit like where it starts getting closer to your semi-finals, quarterfinals, that kind of thing. I think that's where I'm involved.
Wednesday, there's just in terms of EPL teams. Wednesday, Liverpool will go face Rangers in Glasgow, and Spurs host Frankfurt. I think that should be. I think Spurs to beat Frankfurt is probably a pretty solid bet there.
Pull to beat
for the
Rangers
home
as
fans.
well. I think will also be a solid one. But those prices are just so short. I'd much rather take that Spurs to beat Frankfurt. That 1.52 looks much more appealing than Liverpool away at 1.37.
Yeah.
But let's jump into some of the other sport now, Simon. South Africa versus India. There was the T20s and the ODIs. I caught some of the ODI on Sunday, where we lost quite handsomely. We they had to chase down. I think it was 260, 270. You correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong here. And
Yeah,
it's,
no, that's right. I mean, I must say, I've actually, yeah, I think South Africa has shown some decent form actually, and they've kind of been, although they've been patchy, they've been, as is always, I think, with approaches, if we just get our top order to put in a good batting performance, someone in our top order, one or two partnerships, we tend to do well. I mean, we obviously in the T20 series, which wrapped up just over a week ago, we left our best performance when the series was already done and dusted, which is pretty typical.
yeah.
And I don't think India were conceding to us. I think we just played much better than them. But obviously, as I said, typically we would save our best performance when it doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, so in the ODI series, we won our first match by 9 runs. The Carter, Klaasen, and Miller all batted very well, and our fast bowlers did excellently as well, Rabada and Nkidi, really troubling the Indian batsmen there. And then on Saturday, we set a target of 278, which was not too bad for India to chase. But yeah, they lost a couple of early wickets, but then Kishan and Iyer just like settled into the match and really just kind of single-handedly chased down our target and ended up
Yeah.
winning by 7 wickets, which is nice because it means the series is now tied 1-1 with the deciding match having started just about an hour and a half ago as we record now, 10 a.m. Tuesday.
13 overs
Um,
in. Looks like 32 for 3 at the moment.
32 for 3, South Africa batting.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming it is. I can't quite see. I'm not following it. But just looking at the
Okay.
odds, India are 1.22 and South Africa are
Okay.
4.0.
All
So
right.
I'm
So we haven't
assuming
had
we in there. We in
we
there
haven't had
batting.
the, haven't had the best start. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, if we could, this is early days, wrap up the series and win a 2-1 on Indian soil, that would be quite impressive. But obviously, not looking good so far.
No, no.
With that, yeah. But we actually went into this match only slight underdogs against India in this third ODI, and I thought, sure, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Can't
think
not
I
back
think
India in those positions, to be honest. Playing at home,
yeah, but I think it's the thing. It's the Proteas top order. They find a couple of decent partnerships. We've got the pace and variety in our bowling lineup to win matches like this. But yeah, obviously it doesn't help when we lose those early wickets. Things can just fall apart. But yeah, we'll see what happens today.
And then, Simon, there was a lot of GP drama over the weekend. I caught some of it.
Oh,
Verstappen didn't even know he was crown champion because of some technicalities. I didn't read too much into it. I was hoping you could discuss it a bit on the podcast just to kind of clear up
yeah,
what happened. There was,
sure.
yeah, it was a little bit confusing. I think even he was confused.
Well, I must say, in hindsight, I'm so glad I was in Omanus for the weekend, and I'm so glad I watched a recording of this race. I had to turn off my notifications, and I started watching it, in the afternoon because it was in Tokyo, so it was Suzuka at least, so it was an early start, 7 a.m. start. So I recorded it and watched it when I got home on Sunday. But I'm really glad I did because there were so many rain delays. It was painful to say the least. I mean, it was bucketing down at the Suzuka circuit. And there was a red flag after just 3 laps. To be honest, I don't know why they started the race because it was raining so hard. The drivers could not see anything in front of them. The conditions were almost impossible for racing. So yeah, it was very, very frustrating because it was delayed and delayed. Race has to happen after after 5 hours of starting, so they could only delay it so long. And then they made this really bizarre decision where Pierre Gasly, I mean, as I said, the drivers could hardly see through their windshields, and Pierre Gasly didn't slow down for a recovery vehicle, which was on the side of the track. But then, the question I always ask is, why is that recovery vehicle on the track? And how could the drivers even see it? So he was actually penalized for that, which I thought was just totally unfair. And that got a lot of the racers quite riled up because, they thought, well, A, why are you letting us drive in these conditions? It's completely unsafe. And then
Yeah.
you penalizing us because we can't see a car on the side of the road when we can hardly see anything in front of us. And the car shouldn't have been there anyway, So I understand that they're really, really frustrated. But yeah, as you said, Max Verstappen, he started in pole position, extended his lead, very kind of straightforward for Max at the end of the day, which crowns him the Formula One Drivers' Championship for the season. Yeah, so in that race, his teammate Sergio Perez came in second, and Charles Leclerc, his main Verstappen's main rival, although not really, to be honest,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
finished in third. So yeah, so that actually makes Max the second fastest champion ever, only after Michael Schumacher in 2002. So very very quick win for Max there this season. I'm really happy he's won the championship, but it for me it kind of
Sucks for
settles
joy.
that. I'm glad that he won. Without the controversy that hung over his victory last season,
Yes,
over
yes.
Max, where basically he was given the championship when, I'm sure being the person that he is, obviously he was happy that he got given it, but at the same time, it kind of puts a damper on the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And now he's won fair and square. No one can say that he isn't the best. So yeah, at the same time, I'm disappointed that, as an F1 fan, that the drivers' championship's over. Especially because Red Bull only needs to win a few more races to win the constructors championship as
Mm.
well. So it's all but done and dusted. But yeah, I'm glad that Max, got to win fair and square at least. I think that was important for him. So yeah, it's not going to be the most exciting few races before the end of the season, but yeah, good that we have a new champion.
How many races are left in the season?
Gosh, there's only 4 or 5, I
Okay,
think.
okay.
Let's have a look quickly. I think there's not too many. We got the US coming up, and that'll be in 2 weeks' time, and we got the Mexican, Brazilian, and then Abu Dhabi. So yeah, one, two, four more races.
Okay, okay.
4 more races, yeah. So the last race is on Sunday, the 20th of November. Yeah, so he's wrapped it up with a lot more in the bag. And yeah, as I said, the constructors championship could be done and dusted in the next 1 or 2 races as well.
All right, awesome. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps up everything that we're going to chat today. I don't think we've missed out anything, have we?
I don't believe so. No.
No, yeah, great. So, not going to be chatting about the Europa League. not,
Hmm.
not too much interest there. But yeah, so this is my bet for the week, Simon. I'm going to go with your both teams to score Liverpool versus Manchester City in the first half. And then I'm going to tack on Spurs to beat Everton and then Chelsea to beat Aston Villa. And that's giving a very, very tasty 9.98. So your
Hmm.
one ront is going to. Your one ront bet is going to give a nice return there.
Yeah, just for our listeners, and when we talk about value here, I mean, a lot of people throw the word around and don't really. I'll tell you why I believe that first half BTTS shot in Liverpool City is actually value. Is if you look at the implied probability of it happening over 90 minutes, so just both teams to score, the bookmakers are basically saying there's a 70% chance of that happening, right?
Mm.
And that you're getting odds of it's 1.45 or something like that. But for it to happen in the first half, you're getting 3.45, which is a much, 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 much lower probability. But if you think that there could easily be 5 goals scored in this match, why can't each team score in the first half? To me, it's not really aligned, those odds. If there's a 70% chance of it happening in the match, I don't believe there's only like a 15% happening of a chance of it happening in the first half. I believe it's higher than that. So I really think that you're getting much more value. Yeah, it's not as likely to happen the first half BTTS, but you're certainly getting much, much, much better value by backing that first half BTTS at 3.45 rather than full time at 1.45 or whatever it is.
Yeah, just looking
Yeah.
here at the win probability that they have up on the Betway stats, they've got City is 51%, they've got Liverpool is 23%, and then a draw at Liverpool 26% and a draw at 23%. So it's definitely going to be a crack. You just look at the last couple matches. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. Let's just say that. I mean, City are scoring so many goals. I'm just looking quickly. 4-0, 5-0, 6-3, 3-0, 2-1. I mean, that's just an incredible amount of goals.
Mm.
Liverpool have been scoring as well. They've scored at least 2 goals, except for the match against Napoli at the beginning of September in their last 4 matches.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think that one's in for a big punt, and I'll probably have a separate bet on that one. I really think that's a proper
Yeah.
value bet.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, it
Absolutely.
doesn't happen at that price. You're not really going to get burned too much.
No, you can't be upset if it doesn't come in, but you're just missing out. You're leaving money on the table by taking the full BTS. Rather take the first half, expect the bet to lose. I mean, you have to expect odds of 3.45 to lose,
Yeah.
but there's also a better chance of the implied odds of it happening. So you got a good shot.
Yeah, well, guys, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next week. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.